Good evening, and come on in and have a seat because our webinar is going to start shortly. The North American Membership Fireside Chat with our Vice Presidents. We're so fortunate to have three Vice Presidents with us tonight, Vice President Doug, Vice President Brian, and Vice President Patti, who are going to share with us. Oh, the room is filling up fast, and there's going to be a great opportunity for us all to be engaged and to work together as we pivot from where we've been to the new normal. I'm so excited to be with you. We're going to start in about 30 seconds, and we're going to continue to enlighten and ask questions and engage with our vice presidents. We're excited that you're here. Good evening, and welcome to this, the third and final segment of Membership Mondays in May. This is the third year that we have worked together to bring you membership information, and this is the third week in a row, and we are so excited that you've decided to join us. I'm Jerome Thompson, and currently serve as your Constitutional Area 1 Global Action Team, Constitutional Area for the United States and its affiliates. Also, just extremely pleased to work with past District Governor Rob Hill, who is our Constitutional Area 2 Global Action Team area leader, our constitutional area leader, and he oversees and coordinates activities there in Canada. Working together tonight, we have three vice presidents from North America who are going to share with us their philosophy of where our association is going, and they're going to make themselves available so that all of us can work together. Let's talk about the controls on your control panel just a little bit. Tonight's webinar is being recorded and will be shared with everyone who registered. There's going to be opportunities for you to ask questions. Click where it says questions and type your question in. If you'd like to engage in person with us, raise your hand, and staff will be working with us to acknowledge some of those who would like to be engaged with a question one-on-one. And also then there's going to be opportunities tonight for you to engage with our panelists by answering poll questions. And at the appropriate time, please engage with us, share your thoughts and share your perceptions, because working together, we're going to pivot from the way we were, and we're going to start positioning ourselves to be the best organization we've ever been as we emerge from this COVID-19 crisis. Tonight, we've got with us Vice President Doug Alexander from Brooklyn, New York. Vice President Alexander is a retired vice president from JP Morgan Chase Bank and has been Alliance since 1984. Also tonight with us, we have second Vice President Brian Sheehan from Bird Island, Minnesota. Where the heck is Bird Island, Minnesota? No, we know it's right there in Minnesota near one of the many lakes. And he's serving as second vice president, and he's the founder and CEO of the Rural Computer Consultants, a software development company, and Alliance since 1991. And we're also pleased to welcome with us tonight our Dr. Patti Hill from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, serving as our third vice president. Vice President Hill is president of a consulting firm with 30 years of experience as a psychologist. She has mentored graduate students and psychologists in training. She has also championed the rights of children and youth who are deaf and or blind. And she has been Alliance since 1990. We're so excited to welcome the three of you tonight. And I am so pleased. This is the first time ever that we've had the opportunity to bring three vice presidents together to share and make yourself available to the lions of the world. Vice President Doug, let's start with just a little bit of chatting before we get to the many questions that are already coming in the question box. You know, the COVID-19 crisis has really impacted New York. Will you share with us how that's impacted the Lions in New York?
Sure, Past Director Thompson. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you this evening and to share what's happening in New York City and my multiple District 20. As you know, if you've been watching the news, you can see that New York State was highly impacted by the virus, COVID-19. And the Lions were beginning to wonder, what could we do to be of assistance, especially under the circumstances of not being able to go out and operate the way we normally would operate. So what could we do? Well, we listened to our state governor, who was sharing with us about the need for our first responders. They're working double and triple shifts. So we thought that maybe we could provide some respite for them. And we had applied for a grant from our wonderful foundation, and we were awarded a grant. And that grant was spread out all over the state of New York, all 11 districts. And the grant was in the amount of $200,000. And we started to feed the first responders in the hospitals and the fire departments, the police stations. Some had different requests. One of our districts decided to do ice cream. And you might say, ice cream? Let me tell you, that was one of the biggest hits, because when they was ready to do a second feeding, they requested ice cream as opposed to food. So we listened to what their requests were, and we tried to accommodate. We have been successful in feeding more than 45,000 first responders so far. And from that grant, we have, I think it's 2 or 3 more weeks more that we'll be able to continue to feed the first responders. And you might say, well, a meal. Well, sometimes people are so busy they forget to eat, and that can cause their resistance to come down and make them susceptible to the very things that they're trying to prevent or help other people with. So feeding people has been a big success. We've also had some people inquire us, hey, how can I become a lion after seeing the lions come out there? And I have to tell you, we've protected ourselves. We follow the guidelines. We're wearing our protective masks. We're wearing our vests to show who we are. We have our gloves. We are trying to do social distancing as best we can under the circumstances. And it has been working very well for us. It gives us that continued great feeling of who we are and what we do as Lions, making a difference where it's need. Now, these are challenging times because this is something that we're not used to. And what we decided to do was see, not to use it as an excuse as to why we can't serve, but how we have to think about the challenges that we face and how do we get around them so that we can continue to serve. And as a result of doing that, we have had inquiries from people who want to become a part of us because they see the wonderful work that we're doing in our communities.
Thank you so very much. And please know that the Lions of the world are remembering you in our prayers and our thoughts. And we're here to walk alongside you as we all learn to serve in new and creative ways. Vice
Thank
President
you. If I
Bryan,
could
thank
just,
you so very
if I
much
could
for your
just
time.
add to that, when the numbers, when this first started, we were losing close to 800 people a day. I could sit here and hear the ambulances all day long running around. And then that started to subside as we were each day directed by our governor giving us an update on what was going on and what we should be doing. And you begin to see people in the streets wearing their masks. At first they weren't, but everywhere you go now, you see them. At some locations you can't even enter if you're not wearing a mask. Today the number was 106. Now you might say that's a lot, but that's a whole lot better than 799. So the numbers have continually gone down. So we have turned the curve here in New York, and we want to continue to do that so that we can get our economy back to as the new normal as possible. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Vice President Doug. Vice President Bryan, as you and Vice President Haynes worked on developing the North American Membership Initiative this time last year, you had no idea that we would have a COVID-19 crisis. But can you share with us how that the COVID-19 crisis has affected the North American Membership Initiative?
Certainly, Jerome, and again, thanks for having us on here. It's wonderful to be able to get everybody together and have some discussions. There's no one person globally that is not affected by this pandemic, which is it's really hard to conceive and wrap your head around. The world is never going to be the same. Our pilot sites, as well as everybody else on this call, have found ways to adapt. We've had to. We don't have any choices. I truly believe that we're doing things now in this world that we wouldn't be doing in 7 or 10 years from now if it wasn't for this pandemic. Doing things on Zoom meetings and finding out how to negotiate this pandemic is unbelievable. And I give a lot of credit to our Lions, as every time we go on Facebook, see the wonderful things they do. But let's not only talk about the pilot sites we had for our districts, but this coming year in regards to NAMI too has it really has changed. It's all about what we do right now, this day forward, and in the future, because we don't know how long this is going to last. There's things that we can anticipate, and there's obviously things we could never anticipate or imagine in our wildest dreams. You know, Jerome, we've learned many things from our NAMI pilot sites throughout the entire year. We've hit a lot of obstacles, some perceived, some actual. We've learned how important it is to get quick starts, even when pandemic wasn't going on. We don't want to start in holes and play catch up all the time. So we learn from the things that we do, as we all do as Lions. Our pilots as a whole were positive in membership the end of March, and that's what our goal was. And then we kind of flatlined a little bit in March as everybody was held into our homes. Currently and collectively, we're down about 50 members from all the pilot sites, which is good in comparison to where we've been historically. But just in the last 2 weeks is where we got half of those numbers from. So we're seeing, yeah, there is some affecting there, but we're coming to the normal end of a year now with our drop. So we're hoping that things will still go well this year yet. But that's why we have to reach out to our current members. They're our family, and they have to be treated like family, pandemic or not. Communication is huge, and if someone leaves, ask them why they left, but communicate with all of our members and make sure we keep the members we've got. Keep our current members and have club membership drives even now. During this pandemic, the current pilot districts have been affected, absolutely. It's not to get them down, it's just may delay the success results that they planned for. They'll come out and they'll continue with their plans. This is not going to get them down or Lions down in general. It's going to make us stronger. We have to be creative. We got to be innovative as we serve more. We've learned how to do meetings and events through Zoom. Everybody on here has done that. Last month, as an example, we had a meeting with our pilot sites in Alabama, had scheduled a membership drive a long time ago where they were going to bring people in and talk about the great organization and try and get members. And from the pandemic and being housed in our homes and not being able to get out with our home shelter, they adapted. They made their membership drive virtual, and they invited the people in, and they talked about the great organization we have, and they inducted 11 members that night, which is awesome. We find ways to get it done, and I give a lot of gratitude to them, and I give a lot of gratitude to Lions all over the world that are getting things done. Rolling it out in all the North American districts coming up for next year. You know, with this pandemic, there's no reason that they can't start the process that we're working on right now. We can, you know, the process and the steps we have is building a team. Can we do building teams within our cabinet and within our district virtually? Can we build visions virtually? Can we do district analysis virtually? Can we build plans virtually? Yeah, yes we can, yes we can, yes we can. Have some contingent options in there. If our plan in the future has events planned, we need contingencies just to what happens if we're still in a virtual environment yet. So we have to change and adapt with anything we do in life. And I gave a symposium at the beginning of this month, and it was to not use this COVID pandemic as an excuse. It's too easy to come up with excuses and reasons as to why we can't do things. And our pilot sites and our districts are finding that out. We learn from it. We turn it into an opportunity. We take ideas and discussions from tonight and we apply it locally and how we can help our clubs out. We got to be, again, creative and inspirational. One last step to the process is building success. If you build a team and you build a vision along with building a plan, it's going to be inevitable that you're going to build some success. So we needed to do the same process with this issue of COVID-19 in order to get a success stage out there. So please do that process with your club and have communication. So has COVID-19 affected our pilot sites and our districts coming up? And will it affect our districts moving forward? Yes, it has. But we're smart enough and we're strong enough to find additional ways that we're going to be successful. And that's going to be with everybody's help here. We're not going to give up. This is going to make us better. This is going to make us stronger. I truly believe that. We all love this organization and we have faith in it. So thanks for the question, Jerome. I think it was a very good question. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we're also very happy to have Third Vice President Patti Hill with us. Dr. Hill, uh, would you share with us some coping mechanisms or strategies that Lions and Lions clubs might use to emerge a victor instead of a victim?
Well, coping strategies, the first thing I think about is that we all have heard that, they talk about every flight attendant reminding us, first you must put the mask on yourself and then take care of others. And I think that's number one. For each and every one of our Lions to be taking care of themselves. Let's all be safe. Let's all be healthy. And for those of us who are staying at home, this is, for many of us, it's been a real lifestyle shift. Are you making sure that you're being healthy and not just succumbing to the ease of snacking and not exercising? We all need to be healthy ourselves first and foremost. And then, because as Vice President Brian said, we are family. We need to reach out to the other members, starting right with our own Lions Club, and make sure that in this environment, people feel connected. Some of us are connected, we're online, we're seeing people regularly, but many, many are not. And we don't all have to be on Zoom. I've discovered the telephone still works. And to hear a voice and to know that someone just took the time to make a phone call, we may need to reinstitute the buddy system of phoning members in our club, making sure people are doing all right. Because just because we heard from them last week that they are fine, doesn't mean that they are fine this week. And when I think more, globally about the impact of the COVID pandemic, it's very important that we keep those connections. We establish or we reestablish connections, because as human beings, we are social creatures. And part of our well-being is from being connected. Now, when we reach out and we connect with those people, I remind myself, and I'll share this with you, to be sensitive to the change in our situations. Because many people are actually going through a very, what we might call a typical loss process, a loss and grief process. Now, whether they've lost a family member or whether they're just feeling the loss of being connected with their family, being able to connect with children and grandchildren, there's a sense of loss. There can also be a sense of that comes with economic loss. Have they lost their job? Are they uncertain what there will be to go back to? So we need to be sensitive to that type of loss. And then loss of that sense of security, that we live in a predictable and stable world, and that creates anxiousness. And the best way to combat that is for people to know that they have a network they can reach out to, a support network, a safety network, a friendship network, and certainly a service network. And we've talked with so many of our clubs in the last few weeks, and we've learned that sometimes the service they need to do right now is for their own members. They may have members who need someone capable of going out and doing that grocery shopping for them, or picking up a prescription from the pharmacy. Some people can't stand in line as long as some of the service lines are. So sometimes it's our own members who need some of that service. But certainly to keep our clubs strong, there is no lack of service opportunities in our communities right now. If you used to look around and say, well, I don't know what we'll do, things look pretty good in my town, we certainly have had our eyes opened. And there are so many opportunities for service right now. And that's what's going to keep our club strong, is service and fellowship.
Thank you so very much for sharing those strategies with us. And this is an opportunity now for all of our Lions to get engaged with us. Richard, would you open the first poll and let's get some feedback from the audience?
We'll give it another 20 seconds and then we are closing the poll.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, very good.
Richard, and I am so sorry because of technical difficulties. I did not see the question, nor did I see the results, but if you'd share them with me, I'd sure appreciate it.
Not a problem, Patti Thompson. The question was, have you followed with the response of Lions and on LTAF on social media? About 88% said yes and 12% said no.
That's awesome. That means that we're out there still serving and communicating and sharing with the world the great work that we're doing. Just a quick reminder, if you have a question, type it in. If you'd like to raise your hand, raise your hand. We have folks queuing up already. And prior to the webinar, when we started promoting it, Lions started sending questions in and emailing them to me and saying, will you ask this for me? And so let me start with the first one, and then we're going to go to staff and begin to take some of our live questions. And the first question that was emailed to me says, in an effort to increase our membership and prepare our organization for the next 100 years, what are some concrete examples of how we can approach younger people about becoming Lions? Would one of you like to address that?
I'll start with that, trying to answer that question. As we have been forced to use social media more, and I think a lot of our Lions are finding out that it's not as frightening as we may have thought it to be. And we know our young people use social media all the time. It gives us an excellent opportunity to engage with them on social media and to get their feelings of how they feel like they can become a part of our association. As many of us know, young people don't want to come and sit in our meetings, but if we have a service project, they're raring to go and come out and help. So we can use social media to reach out to them, to invite them when we can get back to doing things socially together so that they can become a part of our great association and give them a way of operating where they don't have to come and sit in a restaurant and have a meal, but they can still hold their meeting using the virtual system and being a part of this great association.
Might I add on to that, Jerome, a little bit too? I think one of the things we have to take a look at, first and foremost, is look at our clubs and are our clubs attractive for young members? And for that fact, are we attractive to any new members? You know, I don't necessarily care if they're old or new, or as long as they're young, as long as they're new to coming up with new ideas is very important. I think Doug was right on. Involve them in our projects. Very important for us to be able to do. And if our clubs aren't attractive to getting new members, because we've tried it before and we lose them, maybe start them up and get a group of them and start them up as a branch club. And let them do their own service projects. Let them do their events that they want to be able to do. And if they can grow that into a club and branch off on their own, that's a great way to be able to get in new members that can mix amongst themselves as well, and mix with doing projects as you're together with your club as well.
Very good. Thank you so very much. And now we've got two wonderful folks supporting us back in Oak Brook, Richard and Christy. Which of you would like to go first and either recognize someone for a live question or read to us one of the typed in questions, please?
So we have a question from Lion Nadine Bushell. Hold on. The question box just keep moving. PCC Nadine asks, ND60, we have an organization recently reviewed our service area. Will there be any plans to review these in light of the recent crisis, although it's pretty early? In addition, in the area of our administration, Many clubs have gone to online meetings, online socials, online elections using various software. How does the Lions International plan to adopt some of these things as the International Association revised constitution, revised ways of doing elections at the district and international convention?
Very good question. Who would like to take that?
You know, one thing I think we have to take a look at, and we're doing this in our business as well, is how can we continue to do things the way we're doing them on social media and being able to have elections and stuff. You got to understand, we did our board meeting, we did our LCIF trustee meeting in the last month, and yeah, we struggled. You know, we have to worry about translation and everything else where a lot of us don't speak English, but we find ways to get by and we find ways to get around it. Now, when you take a look at elections and stuff, that can be a little different story. We have problems with elections of taking things through voting in person now. Those are some things, yeah, in the future. There are some packages and applications out there that is allowing to do that on a smaller scale. And eventually it'll get to the point to where we can do a lot of different things virtually, especially when it comes to our elections and conventions and seminars and doing things like we're doing now. So great point.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. Another mailing question here. Lions are beginning to engage more on social media, and online meeting platforms like Zoom have become almost the new norm. How do we ensure that members who do not have the technology or who are not technology savvy still feel included? How do we move forward and leave them behind? Vice President Patti.
Well, I did make a comment earlier that, you know, most people still have a phone. And as we learn how to, you know, move about in our environment safely, whether that's by keeping the 2 meters, 6 feet distance rule, or whatever that might be, there are going to be ways for us to be together safely. And certainly in the interim, for those of us who do have that technology, to go in and perhaps sit with someone in their home and make sure that we partner with them to Zoom them into a meeting or to help them navigate through the phone-in process to make sure that they can be engaged. You know, we take it for granted that we need to offer training. We offer training to club secretaries on how to file service reports. We offer training on so many things. So why not make sure that we don't assume people are tech comfortable? Let's make them comfortable. And I'll go back to Brian's earlier comment that we are a family and we should treat each other like family. If there's someone in your extended family who needs a hand, well, of course you'd give them a hand. So we need to do the same, exactly the same with our Lions family.
And if I can add to that, it may be, and we're still socially distancing, that they have the technology but just don't know how to use it. So we can reach out to them to guide them through the process of using it. And when it gets to a point, say, where we can get together, maybe we take our laptop and go over to that person and show them how to use it. And the phone still works, because we've had that in some of the meetings that we've had where people have signed in on the telephone. So see the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. We can always find a way to get around it. And I think just by letting our Lions know that we care and we take the time to assist them, that goes a long way as well.
Thank you so very much. And now back to Oak Brook for another question.
Hi, PAD Thompson. This is Karina. I have a question from a Lion, Jody. Will we be waiving LCI dues for the first half of the year to support our current members? If not, why?
I'll take the first stab at that one. That is something that came up at our board meeting, and I want you to know that Lions Clubs International is looking at various ways that we can assist our Lions during this difficult time. We understand that our clubs are not meeting. They may not be able to collect the dues the way they normally would collect them. So we are looking at that. And of course, in these times when people are not necessarily giving like they normally giving, it affects our association as well. So as well as wanting to give back to our Lions and support them in this difficult time, I know we had spoke about that there will be waiving the late payment of dues, putting clubs on suspension for late payment of dues or whatever. Those things have been looked at right now, that they will be waived. And if a club needs to have a payment plan, those things can be worked out with the Lions. But they are seriously looking at how we can help with the dues piece. That hasn't been finalized yet. We have a board meeting coming up in June. It will certainly be on the agenda then. And as soon as we can get that information out to our membership, I'm sure that that's going to happen.
The other comment I might give on that as well is we've looked at it and we've talked about it and thought long and hard on the different things that we can do. And, you know, it's difficult. With this pandemic, we don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what the effect financially is going to be on our organization yet. We do know that we're going to have a very large deficit at the end of this year because we didn't have convention. There were a lot of things that happened that is going to put us into a deficit. And you take a look at membership dues and, you know, granted, even though it's just $3 and a little over $3.60 per month, it's where can we have the biggest impact in trying to assist and help our members out. We're concerned about, well, we may not be able to pay our dues in time. Are we going to get suspended, or are we going to get cut off or anything else? No, we've talked about those things, and we want to extend those so that it doesn't create a hardship for a lot of our members. So we truly are looking at a lot of things, and we're open to discussion. We're doing a lot of analyzing on numbers and everything else. And sometimes we have to take a look to our own clubs and our own multiple districts because we're not in control of those dues. But I know for our club, for some of our members that might have lost their job or haven't been able to have any means of making any income, we'll take a look and we'll support those members, and we'll support our members amongst our own club and amongst our own district too. So we really have to look at all avenues. Again, another great question.
Mm-hmm. And I know even already some of our districts in Constitutional Area 2 have taken decisions that they are either going to waive or reduce district dues going forward this year, or multiple district dues going forward for this coming year. And of course, it's always a balancing act, because we know that clubs are going to need grants. We know that districts and multiple districts will need their training grants, they'll need grants for institutes and so on. And so it's always a matter of balancing off expenses and revenue on and being fiscally responsible. But certainly that's been a topic at our executive, and it will certainly come forward at our June board meeting for discussion from all of your elected directors from around the world.
Thank you so very much for addressing that question. And we're going to go right back to Oakbrook and see if there's another question there, because those questions are piling in and we're not going to have enough time to get to everyone.
Hi, Patti Thompson. This is Christy here. We did want to kind of segue back to, I knew that we were talking about mental and emotional health during this time. We have Lion Claudette Henry, who has some commentary on a way in which her area is working on this. Lion Claudette, give me just a second. Lion Claudette, are you ready to speak?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, good. There's a new program that some of the clubs in my district are participating in, and it's a telepal. It's similar to pen pal, and we've had when we were young in school, we had a pen pal somewhere, and it's telepal, and that's where you get on the phone and you call maybe just two people, and you call and you communicate with them. You don't talk about COVID-19. You just call, hey, I was thinking about you. How you doing today? Just chit chat, have a conversation. And if it's someone that's a neighbor or a club member, they're alone, and they're not far away. You could say, you know, I'm fixing something for dinner tonight. Would you like me to bring over a plate for you? And I could just call you when it's ready, and I can put it there at your front doormat, or just hand it to you if you have a mask on, or whatever you're comfortable with. And just communicate so that these people know that we care about them. Just they need to know that. And they're isolated. So many people are isolated. And it's so important that we communicate and that they're included. My district had their convention, and we had everyone zooming in. But in order to prepare for that ahead of time, I had some that were participating and called ahead of time and said, do you know how to do Zoom? Okay, let's get this figured out before the convention, okay? So anyhow, so I didn't want them embarrassed, you know, and some people have that. There's a lot of pride, and they don't want that. So anyhow, that's all I have to say.
Lion,
Isn't it a great thing? Jerome, that's awesome, Claudette. I hope you
So
share
good.
that in other social media and stuff too. That's my biggest fear is we're going to lose some of our family and some of our club members because they haven't been able to socialize and talk.
PID Thompson,
yes, sir.
we have a follow-up question from PCC Mahesh that he'd like to ask.
Oh, please, Lion Mahesh, join us and share your thoughts.
PCC Mahesh, you've been unmuted.
Thank you so much, Richard, for unmuting me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Richard?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much for unmuting me, and thank you all four of you to be available for our members, because I see you in action. Option for the question that was posed by Jody before. It is two parts. One is the campus clubs. Our recruitment usually during the August time, when the happen with many of our areas. Many of the schools have postponed, like rather taken their fall session online already. So they might be meeting. So many of these clubs will not have any activity till. How are we going to deal with that? One. And the second thing is about a couple of my clubs. Again, you know,
Unfortunately, Mahesh, you're
I'm just
cutting
across
in and
the river
out. And I
from
think
Vice President, and we are very, very bad.
I think that the two questions is campus clubs and how are we going to help them with their dues when they're not meeting, and a lot of clubs are going online. And the second is that some of the clubs may be struggling, and I think that it might go back to what Vice President Doug had said about working out payment plans. How would you like to respond to those questions?
I would suggest first that for the campus clubs, that we really get connected with them. They're going to be the ones who have no difficulty with the online modality. And they will also be very aware of some of the challenges that their own classmates, that college demographic are experiencing. And whether that's the need for college-based food banks, bursaries, financial assistance. There are so many things that put college students at risk and almost into the vulnerable population. So I don't think we can use the online modality as a barrier, but I do think that we need to be very proactive, getting together with them, assessing their ability to continue to serve, to recruit new members online, and to determine whether or not they do need a special status if they have to delay a payment. As we know, many of the young people don't know what it is to write a check. they do electronic transfer of funds or PayPal payments all the time. I think as long as we're very proactive in reaching out to them and not letting them drift away, then we have a good opportunity to help sustain campus clubs. The second question, Jerome, I'm not sure if you caught the gist of PCC Mahesh's second question or not. I did have trouble hearing it.
I think that the second question dealt with maybe some clubs who were going to be financially struggling to pay their dues payment. And I believe that Vice President Doug had addressed that if there was a club that was having some opportunities or some problems with payment, if they contacted the accounting department, that we would work with them and try to set up a payment plan so that we can continue to be supportive of all of our clubs. Did I hear that right, Vice President Doug?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Let me ask a mailing question here, and this is, do you think that the current situation will affect retention of members, and what can we do to prevent the loss of clubs and the loss of members during this time?
Well, I'll take a stab at that. The answer is yes. We do think so, and that came up at our board meeting. I hate to share the number that we thought that we may lose in membership. It's a pretty substantial number, and how can we counter us losing it? And part of it has just been discussed here right now, and that is reaching out to our members. Let them know that we care, that we're thinking about them, that we are still in business, and that we are finding new ways to do things, and get them excited about these new opportunities that we have and get them engaged in what we're doing. And I think that will help with the retention piece. Those are my thoughts. My other colleagues want to chime in?
I think that's right on, Doug. I mean, we have to pay attention first and foremost to our Lions that are out here, because we need to keep them healthy. We need to get them engaged. We need to get them engaged to be able to help our clubs out, to maybe stock some shelves or deliver food for restaurants, or doing the things that we can do in order to serve. And retention has always been a problem, pandemic or not. We've gotten them in our doors, and for some reason we lose them because they're not engaged in our service. They get bogged down with meetings. We got to get around to being able to serve people, and that's the reason why we want to be able to get additional members and keep the ones we got.
Patti, anything to add?
Well, I'm just thinking, no one would wish a pandemic on anyone, but it has pushed us forward to focus on how we use technology and connectivity. And it is pushing us forward to look at being much more intentional about retention. And so I'm thinking that will be one of the areas where we learn we need to focus and not just give lip service to, not just do an exit interview after they've already gone, but to proactively engage with our members and make sure that they're feeling valued and that they have a way to serve.
Patti Thompson.
Thank you so very much. Yes.
We have our second poll ready to go whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
Well, let's do that now. Let's engage our audience a little bit more.
The question is, have you found new ideas of service projects on social media? Yes or no? We'll give it 20 more seconds and we're going to close the poll and share the results. All right, we are closing the poll and sharing the results. About 81% said yes and 19% said no. Interesting.
I think it's very exciting when we can see new service ideas that we can adapt or adopt and use in our local areas. So I'm glad people are engaged and able to connect with those new ideas on social media, because we might not be, sharing them at our face-to-face conventions this year, right? So if we can do it and share ideas in other platforms, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And that also goes to show that our clubs are out there serving and they're sharing their service. And when we as Lions are noticing it, the world is noticing it. And we are becoming once again, position ourselves to become the leader in humanitarian service. We have not been slowed down by a little virus. In fact, it has propelled us into the next century of service. Lion Richard, Lion Christy, Lion Karina, someone else that wants to join us live or a question that has been typed in, please.
Hi, yeah, PID Thompson. Actually, we have a comment from PID. I'm sorry, I'm from Lion Littlefield. Lion Littlefield, you are unmuted. I thought your comment was really great for these times.
Thanks a lot. As I'm listening to this conversation tonight, it's first of all great to see you all. I've missed being able to see you in person, but I was looking back at our history, and during the Great Depression, I was reminded that our Lion president at the time had said, during this worrisome period, Lions clubs have found a new meaning in loyalty to their organization and to their communities. And one of the things that they focused on was during this time to find within themselves an even greater spirit of giving under times of stress. And this is something that Vice President Brian, you mentioned that, we have to take care of our members, and all of you have mentioned that. And during that time, Lions Clubs was very proud that Melvin Jones said, don't lose club members because of dues. Some people have greater resources. Let them help each other, take care of each other so that we can contribute. And, Lions found all sorts of good projects, buying groceries for the needy, providing hot lunches for children. They still paid for eye surgery. And it was just amazing that when the Lions Clubs International got through the Great Depression, they took great pride that they survived and they had met the challenge through service. And they didn't lose membership. They remained solvent because they found ways to continue. They did not want to lose members because of the cost of dues. So I really appreciated your comments about taking care of our club members. And Lion Claudette that spoke earlier, she's now a past district governor here in Florida with the Telepad project, or Telepal. And I think that's what clubs need to do. Find individual projects that can help to take care of their members and community. Don't lose members because of money. Find new ways. So I just wanted to share that little bit of history. I have kind of a thing about looking at history, and that memory of the Great Depression, we survived and thrived during that period, and we will again. So thank you all for your leadership. It's really great to see you. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. I didn't ask for it, but they said you want to share. So.
Yeah.
Lion Robert, now, if you didn't ask for it, it's the first time ever. No, I'm just cutting up. Thank you so very much for your questions and your comments. And you're so right. We have got to take and be proactive and find ways to continue to move forward. Lion Littlefield has done such a great job for our organization, has written his book that deals with a lot of the history, and I'm so proud he brought that out for us. And going back to Oak Brook, another question or comment, please.
PID Thompson, this is Lion Richard. We did have a question from Lion Willie Brown. How often is too often to contact members? I know the club executives should be encouraged to step up and contact members. Just pause the club as they begin to shut down over the summer. Perhaps districts need to kick off summer contact members.
What do you think?
Jerome, Willie, great question. We have that problem here too. We shut down over the summertime, and we don't get going now. I think with this pandemic, and I think it exactly goes back to what Robert, past director Robert had said too. When we hit disasters, we find people in need, we rise greater to the occasion because we know that there are so many people hurting. There's so many things that we can do because we're fortunate to be where we're at. And Willie, I think you're right. I think we've all got to take and step it up a gear. We got to come along quicker to this. There's a lot of people that are hurting out there right now. We don't know how long this is going to go on, but you're right. We got to get all of our clubs engaged, and we got to find a way to get them engaged, and we got to find a way we can do it individually and we can do it as a group. But I think you're right on. We can't sit back and just wait for us to be able to get out of our households to take care of it. We have to get a plan right now in order to be able to move forward and help more people out.
I couldn't agree more. This is not the time to disengage with people. That would be a disservice to our members. And even if over the summer, if you find yourself, having club meetings, simply to act as a social activity, I think it's critical that we stay engaged without a recess. Well, what's this recess for? Social needs don't take a recess. Lions don't take a recess.
You can engage in fun ways, and many of us have been participating on Saturday evening in the virtual cocktail party and meeting Lions around the world, just having a great time, and also introducing people to ways that they can better understand the Zoom conferencing and meeting rooms and things of that nature. And so even this summer, you can have some virtual socials as well as some actual socials to stay engaged. Lion Richard, let's go back to Oak Brook another time for a question or a comment, please.
PID Thompson, this is Karina again. I have a hand raised from Lion Susan. She's ready to ask a question. Lion Susan, you're unmuted. Can you ask your question, please?
Good evening. This is Susan Gall from Central California. And I am asking a question to Second Vice President Brian. You mentioned that we have a deficit as a result of not holding the international convention. And my poor little accounting brain doesn't understand that. And I'm wondering how we can work to address that deficit. If it's not having a convention costs money, how do we address it?
And it's not a great question, Susan, and thank you for the question. It's not only the convention, it's a number of things that have been tied together. And I'm a business owner, and I understand that we can't run things necessarily in a deficit fashion at all. We're a very, very solid organization, probably more than others out there. We have a number of years of being able to have surplus that we can draw on in case of pandemics like this. But we do have to find ways that we have worked, especially this set of executive officers here, and the last couple in front of us too, is we have worked very, very hard in order to not have a deficit budget and not have a deficit year. The one thing that is really affecting us right now is you take a look at, and we plan a lot on our rate of return of our investments and stuff that we have out there. Right now, we're figuring that rate of return to be zero. And that's a big amount of money in what we have, and we count on some of that, especially with LCIF, because that's where we get a lot of our grants from the interest we have with LCIF, and all of a sudden now you take that from a 5, 6, 7% down to a 0%. That's a lot to overcome, and it's going to take us a while to overcome that as well. But I can tell you, with this group of officers, that's very, very high on our list to make sure that we're fiscally responsible in what we're doing. And we've taken a number of cuts to get to that area. Great question. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you so very much. I think we have one more time for one more question there from Oak Brook.
Yes, we have PID Connie Leclerc Myers. PID Connie, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. One of the comments that was made was taking care of our lions, and I just have to comment that how instrumental your coming before the Lions, showing that you care for us, really sets the pace for your caring for us, showing how we should do it. I know there are many Lions who have never even seen a vice president before, but you're going out of your way to make sure that you know what we're going through because you're going through the same thing. I just want to thank you for your leadership and allowing for us to see how it really is and that you do care. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Connie.
I'd just like to say, Connie, thank you for recognizing that, because how many Zoom meetings have you been on today? This is only about my fifth or sixth one, but I wanted to be here to take part in this because I think, like you said, just the Lions being able to see us and to know that we're concerned about how you're doing, and it just takes me back to that old saying that charity begins at home. We look like fools trying to help other people and not help our own family, so we have to keep that in mind as well. And as it was stated with this dues situation, we have some very healthy clubs in our association. As I've traveled around this country, so that there are clubs that can help their members that may necessarily, need that help. And it's all a part of what we do. It's giving the service where it's needed. And we have to remember that charity does begin at home, and all our the things that we do in the giving that we're looking for from our membership. And to go back to the other question about the deficit that Brian was speaking about, my background is in finance, so that is very important to me. We were looking at a deficit even if we still had our convention, and we were looking at ways to cut costs to close that gap. As many of you may know, we did have a membership dues increase that was scheduled to be on the ballot in Singapore, but being that the convention didn't happen, then that, of course, we couldn't go forward with that. And after the pandemic came about, we certainly know that wouldn't be the right time to ask for an increase. So, and as Vice President Brian has stated, that's why we have reserves for situations such as this. Certainly, we don't want to deplete them, but we have to be conscious of, that's the situation that we're in right now, and how do we work around that? Look at our foundation. They're giving out more money than they had been given as a result of this pandemic. The latest numbers came out today. We're at a little over 216, I think it is, grants around COVID-19, totaling $3,723,655. You see, I remember that number. Numbers is my game. And that's something we can be proud of. It came out at our meeting just last week that we've given out more than $34 million from our foundation this in the last line is the year. So we're continuing to do what we do, and that is to provide service and put grants where it's needed around the world. But the issue with this deficit and clubs not being able to pay, we are aware of that. We're looking at ways that we can help our clubs get through this difficult time. And we will get through this difficult time. And we'll be able to talk about that. Like we talk about the depression time, we'll be able to talk about the COVID time and how the Lions came together and worked, and we got through this, and we are still the #1 humanitarian organization in the world, making a difference. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. I think we have time for one quick poll to engage our audience, and then we're going to share a little bit of information about what's coming up. Lion Richard?
Yes, sir. Have you had an opportunity to safely serve your community during the pandemic? Yes or no? We'll give it another 20 seconds, and then we'll close the poll and read out the results. All right, we're closing the polls now. So, and we're sharing the results. So about 76% said yes, and 24% said no.
Thank you, Lion Richard. Let us, if you have additional questions, you have comments, we have the email address, which is going to appear in your chat box there, gat.ca1@lionsclubs.org. Reach out to us and let's continue to work together. I'm so excited to tell you that membership Mondays in May have been so popular that we are thinking about, and we very well may jumpstart June, where that we're going to focus on new club development and how that we're going to get a jump start into a new year, and that we're going to change the face of our world by being more engaged and expanding our footprint into new communities. If that comes about, you'll get your personal invitation to join and to be involved in those Mondays in June. It's so exciting. It may be a different format. It may be some different information, but I can guarantee you it will be engaging and thought-provoking, because your global action team is here to assist, to engage, and to help district governors reach their goals. Vice President Doug, thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Vice President Brian, we could not have done it without you. And Vice President Patti, I really appreciate the human touch that you bring to every conversation. Your background as a psychologist comes through, and it helps us as Lions have a smile on our face and helps us to be better. Thank you for what all the three of you add to our association. And our staff at Oak Brook have been wonderful, don't you think? They've been outstanding tonight. And unfortunately, our audience has been so great and so engaged that we literally have 127 questions in the queue. We could be here all night, Vice President Brian, and we have
You're going to be busy, Jerome.
we have about
us too. We'll help you.
hands raised wanting to engage with you. You were so popular. I hope that we can do this again. Our global action team is working hard, and we're here to serve you. And we could not do this without the audience. Without your participation, these webinars would not be of the quality they are. So thank you, every Lion who has participated this evening. Enjoy Memorial Day, and in Canada, it's Victoria Day, isn't it?
Yes.
And so enjoy that.
PID,
Lion Doug.
yeah, if I might, I don't know, we didn't touch on the bereavement part that much. And that's a big issue out there as well. What we've done in our district, because it came up in the committee meeting that we have dealing with the grant, and we reached out to the professionals in our district who work in that field, and we were able to put together a brochure of directing people where places in each of the areas of the state of New York, where they can reach out if they feel like they need to talk to someone during this difficult time. Because as you know, we're not able to have funerals like we normally would have, with people being there. When people were going to the hospital, you couldn't even go with them. So, people were dying without their family members there with them. And that's something that we have to keep in mind as well. So what we did to address that is we reached out to the professionals in our area, and we put together this booklet that we are distributing. We have 10,000 copies being printed up, and each district will receive them so that it can be available for people to use to find places where they can reach out if they need to speak with someone.
That is an awesome idea. Thank you for sharing it, because what we're finding is there is new and creative ways to serve if we'll simply look for those opportunities. Lion Brian, a closing comment?
No, just I want to thank you, Jerome, in getting this together. Our staff, we have the best staff at Lions Clubs International. More important, the members that join this call here today. It's great to interact. It's great to share ideas. That's why we're all Lions. That's why we love this organization.
Thank you. And Lion Patti, closing comments?
Yes, we've talked a lot about the importance of our Lions clubs in our communities right now, and I know that there is a relatively new document that's been pulled together about serving during this time, and I'm wanting just to confirm, Past Director Jerome, that everyone who's been on the webinar, on the follow-up mail out, will have a link to find that document on creative new ways to serve during this time. Because, when you have a good idea, you should share it, right? Thanks
Absolutely.
so much, everyone.
Thank you. And I can already tell you, I've got a text that says next time it has to go twice as long. Hopefully y'all can join us and we can continue this dialogue again. But for tonight, that's all the time we have. Good night, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody, and stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Jerome.